Hi there, welcome to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Lindholm. And I think it's time for us women to shift the conversation in business and step into our feminine leadership to do the most iconic work the aesthetic industry has ever seen. Each week, I'll be bringing a powerful dose of strategy, sarcasm, solutions, and sass that will rev up your creativity and ignite your brilliance as you link arms with me along our shared path of personal and professional growth in 20 minutes or less. Let's go. Hello, Fierce Factor. Welcome back to episode 81 and also part 3 of a series of podcasts I am recording to address the current hiring dilemma that so many aesthetic practices are facing right now. If you are new around here, welcome. My name is Kaylee Lindholm, and I am the founder of KLC Consulting and the Pop Aesthetic Leadership Academy, where we help aesthetic and wellness industry practice owners build deeply satisfying, lucrative, freedom-based businesses that stand the test of time. And I'm on a mission to help 100 inspiring and intentional women cross the next $1 million milestone in their business this year. I help bring Fortune 500 leadership strategy to high-growth aesthetic practices who are poised to disrupt their markets. And I believe that you are here today because you know the secret to building a lucrative, deeply satisfying, freedom-based business is through the power of a winning team. So thanks for tuning in today. I am looking forward to having this discussion with you around team building during the hiring pandemic. So be honest, have you ever had this thought, and you can insert your own adjective here, but my business would be successful or drama-free or easy or stressless or fun if I didn't have humans working in it. I'm sure if you have a pulse and you own a business, you've had this thought at one time in the development of your business and the growth journey in the process of building your team. Or maybe you're having that thought right now. There isn't a day that goes by over the past 6 months where I don't hear challenges such as, Kaylee, I'm really feeling frustrated with the hiring process right now. I'm not sure where to go to find the good people. Where have all the good people gone, right? I'm feeling overwhelmed with staff turnover in the practice. One great employee ends up becoming my go-to for all the important things. I wish employees performed as good as their interview. And now, especially, the COVID pandemic has presented a slew of unexpected staffing issues. You're probably feeling like everything is COVID's damn fault right now. Am I right? I get it. But I spent over a decade in sales management before I took a role as a managing partner and director of a 7-figure aesthetic practice. Even though I had years of experience hiring and building teams, I realized that there were gaps in the way that we hire and lead people in our incredible aesthetic practices. I told the story last week in episode 80, where we talked about incentivization during COVID, about a candidate that I interviewed several years ago when I was running my practice for a front office coordinator role, who came highly recommended by a trusted source. She was well-educated, experienced. She had all the attributes on paper that we were looking for. Emphasis, by the way, on paper. When I had my first phone interview with her, the first question out of her mouth was, yeah, so how much vacation time can I get, huh? I wish I was kidding. Maybe I'm old school, but it sure seems like people these days just do not want to work. Couple that with the hiring pandemic of 2021, and here we all are just wondering what the heck to do. The reality is the workforce is more deliberate than ever. Many folks who have been home for a year or more are really starting to think about what it means to go back to work. What that essentially means is their core motivations may have shifted, not just a little, but significantly. Not to mention that minimum wage workers are demanding higher pay to align with supplemental stimulus income over the past year plus. So what can we do? Essentially, we need to meet them where they are. So today I want to empower you with the tools to reinvent the way you are approaching team building, to optimize your practice, not only today in this dynamic hiring climate, but forever. And in this episode, we're going to talk about how to One, assess the business to create a strategic blueprint to establish a hiring plan versus just adding headcount to fill gaps that you might have right now. Two, we're going to take a little tour into the COVID brain to reimagine win-win scenarios for acquiring top talent. And then finally, we're going to discuss strategies for interviewing and onboarding A players into your business. So I'd like to walk you through a 3-step process that has really helped me and dozens of our clients find incredible humans to join and elevate their team this year. I call it evaluate, define, and negotiate, EDN, or eat donuts now. If you use food to stimulate your memory like I do, eat donuts now, my friend. So step 1, E, evaluate the current business to create a hiring blueprint. Step 2, define the role with clarity and focus. And step 3, negate and negotiate. Things have changed. Have you? COVID has disrupted our economy, our supply chain, our outlook on life. Yet many business owners are still running their practices like it's pre-COVID. This is really where it's time to look at your business and get discerning about the needs of the business. What are the company's growth goals? What activities, for example, products, services, and procedures, are most profitable for the company? We have a client who recently decided to cut an entire research division because it was a nice to have and not a need to have right now, so she could better staff and optimize the more productive aspects and areas of her business. So this is where we really need to think about who actually belongs on your new team. Once you're clear on what the plan is for the business, it's time to move into part D, which is to define the role and clarify what activities that role will be responsible for to produce profit for the business. Can I please remind you that the reason we even hire people at all is to produce a profit for our business. In our academy, we teach something called the 4X principle, which means each employee produces revenue equivalent to 4 times their annual salary. With the right team member and clear, concise performance expectations, you can map out their incentive plans and your growth plan with confidence and clarity. And when you're looking at your hiring plan, when you're looking at who this new team is, when you're looking at what activities need to happen to make sure that the employee is producing profit for your business, then you can ask yourself that if what this employee is needing to be paid will result in 4X profit for my business, then it might be a good time to hire or even hire up. We have a client who started hiring LVNs this year to run her front desk, and she was able to offboard a significant amount of clinical communication and administrative work to them while training them in other support functions. So rather than just throwing her hands up in the air and saying, ugh, there's no good people out there, she really started to look at hiring people that could be a part of the growth trajectory of her business. Let's say you walk through this 4X exercise and you uncover that the employee results are not, in fact, 4X profit producing. Can you build a runway that would allow them to take on more responsibilities that would result in a stronger financial impact over time? If the answer is still no, then perhaps it's time to ask yourself, are the decisions I've committed to in my business realistic right now? Instead of jumping to hire, could it be time for a strategic pivot? Perhaps the business needs to slow down or restructure to protect its profitability, its growth plan, and later, your sanity. When you're hiring, don't forget to include KPIs that are non-tactical. 98% of the time, our clients hire for the things, but fire for a bad attitude, drama, or apathy toward the role or responsibilities. Write a cultural manifesto so your new hire clearly understands what it's like working for your company, and they understand that their job performance is not only tied to tangible results, but also how they go about achieving those results. Think of your hiring process like online dating. You want to be very specific about what you're looking for. Can you imagine if you just pulled up a profile on a dating site and said, I'm looking for a man? This is basically what you're doing when you hire for positions and not people. The more specific and detailed you are about the right fit and expectations, the more likely you will be to attract and nail down that right person. Moving into part 3 of this system is moving into the interview process, and that's where we're going to negate and negotiate. Essentially, what we're doing here is eliminating the folks who are not a right fit before we even waste our time evaluating them. I'd like to encourage you to start off by making a strategic mindset shift here around hiring for entrepreneurs. Thinking of your role as a leader as a strategic talent acquisitionist versus someone who just hires for tactics. Every single employee should elevate the status quo, bring innovation, creativity, fresh perspective to your business. And this comes with hiring entrepreneurs, not just filling roles. Focus on strategic talent acquisition versus tactical hiring. Many times I'll hear, I can't find any A players, Kaylee. And it's so interesting because if you've been a listener of this podcast, you know I've used this story many times, but I was hosting a webinar and someone said to me, I received 200 applications from Indeed. If you can't find A players here, are you actually interviewing A players? Are you interviewing B and C players? If you know what an A player looks like, then only accept an interview or pull an A player through that interview process. Don't waste your time. You know what you're looking to build in your business. So stop making excuses. Please stop making excuses for people because you feel bad for them or you're really hungry to hire. And make the application process interactive. It always shocks me when we hire someone from a resume and they're shocked when they're not bubbly and welcoming to patients. If you're looking for someone who can sell, then make them sell themselves to you. We in our company ask for a 1-minute video explaining why they chose to work with us or our clients and why they're the right fit for the role. Did they make the video? Did they follow directions? What was their personality like? We're doing an evaluation from minute 1. And I have to say, there is a time and place for Indeed, and with very few exceptions, it is not for attracting entrepreneurs. Instead, start with your inner circle. Spread the word through your team, your patients, your community, your social media, your email list, local businesses. If you own a brick and mortar business, please start in your local community before you go fishing cold on the internet. And then run them through a team test. You want to show your new candidate how amazing your culture is, and your team will help you know if that candidate will be a fit or not. During the interview process, make sure to ask questions that are open-ended and character-defining, personality-invoking, questions that require specific examples. So I might say something like, tell me about a time when, and use an example of a challenging moment, or tell me about a time when you had to make a tough decision or when you had to deal with a difficult patient. And what you're looking for is passion and ambition and attitude. And oh, by the way, stop doing all the talking. We aren't here to sell candidates on the roll. We are here to evaluate them as a fit for our business. Don't forget that. By the way, you guys have learned this the hard way, because I've been so excited about this opportunity and finding someone and bringing them in and relieving myself of so much stress to have the extra help that I feel like I'm bringing a candidate in and just vomiting about our company. And at the end of the day, the goal of the interview is to essentially interview them to make sure they're the right fit. And that comes with asking more questions than talking. So a quick checklist that we run through in our company during the hiring process is collecting an application. So of course, that's after we create the manifesto and job description. And then we reach out to our warm inner circle. And then we ask for an application, a 1-minute video. And then once I've reviewed the application and the video, that's when I'll set up or I'll approve an interview with a leader on my team or several people on my team, dependent on the role. And then based on how that goes, then I'll have the candidate come and do a presentation. Now, in our company, it's important that they're able to communicate. It's important that they're able to present. And I want to know what they're passionate about. So I have them create a 10-minute presentation, and I don't give them any other instructions. Just let's set up a 10-minute presentation for you to present to me something you're passionate about. And I like to see how they put that presentation together. You know, what is their organizational skills, how do they present, and what are they passionate about? And it tells me a lot about them and their character as a person. Then we have them, if they're still moving through the process and I'm feeling like I'm liking that candidate more and more every time, and as we're going through this process, then they'll take a StrengthsFinder test. I've always found either StrengthsFinder or the Colby to be particularly helpful in terms of getting clear on how we'd potentially work together and if they would be a fit for that role based on where their strengths are. and then a final interview with me. And so as you can see, I'm basically having a total of 1 to 2 interviews personally, while so much of this hiring evaluation happens during the hiring process that we've put in place. So now I want to move into the second part of this presentation, and that is about taking a stroll inside the COVID brain. When we're thinking about the COVID candidate, right, the COVID brain, what is the COVID brain thinking? And I sort of had to pull my journal out and draw a picture of a brain and do a brain dump and say, if I was this brain, what would I be shouting out? Here's some of the things that I came up with. These are some of the things that this COVID candidate is really driven by. Personal impact, working from home, casual Fridays, office-sponsored lunches, medical wellness benefits, flexible hours, a purpose, a mission, a vision, perks for their family, maybe building a business within another business, vacation time. So I noticed as I was dumping all of these out of this brain, this literal illustration of a brain that I drew, I didn't write money. I didn't write big bonuses. I was really thinking a little more creatively about now considering what we as human beings have been through over the past 18 months and what the drivers that I'm seeing and practices that we're staffing in my own business. There are a lot of really great people out there that are just looking to make an impact and to have more of a autonomous schedule and put their fingerprint on the development and growth of a business. And so finally, I really want to encourage you to get creative. While it may have been completely ridiculous to hire virtually in the past, it may not be so far-fetched today. Many aesthetic practices are bolstering their retail business as an example. Perhaps having someone work virtually to manage that side of your business might make sense. Maybe it's answering phones or virtual consults, follow-ups, or scheduling, or customer service with a flexible schedule that becomes a win-win for your business and employee. We had a client literally last week who hosted a virtual event. It was a virtual and on-site event, but she had about 30 patients show up for the barbecue she hosted, and she sold $125,000 because she had 2 employees on the phone, essentially dialing for dollars. People want immediate gratification, they want access, and they want convenience. They're not waiting to go into an office all of the time. There are ways to support and serve that patient virtually. And look, I realize that there's no cookie cutter answer here, but I believe that that is absolutely part of the fun of growing a business. Turn your frustrations into an opportunity and challenge yourself to get creative and take action in a new way. So in summary, first of all, it may be time to pivot your business strategy to support your hiring process. Seek out entrepreneurs by investing in strategic talent acquisition versus tactical hiring. And leader, there are still good people that are eager to work for you. Feel empowered. Get excited about hiring top talent. It starts with EDN. Think donuts, leader. And finally, we love COVID candidates. All right, I hope that you feel empowered and energized about getting back out to that hiring table, you guys. Get creative and go hire those incredible employees that you deserve and show them what an incredible opportunity it will be to work for you and your visionary business. Thanks for tuning in today, and I'll see you next week. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Fierce Factor. If you enjoyed the show, please make sure you subscribe so you can automatically get new shows every week. I'd also love it if you left us a review. And come join the conversation online. If you're an aesthetic industry owner, operator, or leader, please join my free Facebook group, The Tribe of Fierce Aesthetic Leaders, a community of ambitious, purpose-driven professionals who collaborate and share best practices for growth in business and life. I'm honored you tuned in.